Hello, my dears. Daniela here, and welcome to another episode of the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. This episode is brought to you by Addo Aesthetics, the #1 coaching company for spa industry professionals wanting to step into the role of spa CEO. And today's episode was very serendipitous. So one of the affirmations that I say to myself regularly is that I am always in the right place at the right time. And this episode is total proof of that for me, just letting me see example after example of how that happens for me regularly. So we film our podcast interviews in person in a studio in Austin. That was one of the big changes for us this year to really up-level our production quality and all of those things. So I was in town. I was in Austin for my girlfriend's book launch, and I was hanging out in the studio because she films there too. And Maya was actually scheduled to be on her show. But while she was interviewing someone else, Maya and I were sitting in the back, and we went real deep, real fast. So, you know, when you meet somebody, but it's like you're total strangers, you've never met before, it's the first time, but you feel like you've known this person for a million years. That's Maya. So I love her story. I love her authenticity. And I'm so excited to introduce you to this incredible, incredible human being. All right, so let me do a quick read of her bio, and then we can play that interview. Maya Elious is a personal branding strategist and the CEO of Built to Impact, a coaching and consulting company that helps faith-based female entrepreneurs build a high-end coaching business. Through her 6-month accelerator program and her signature live event, Impact Weekend, she's helped hundreds get clear on their message, confidently increase their prices, and have successful 5-figure launches. She's been featured as a top branding expert in publications like Black Enterprise, Forbes, and Business Insider. Her main mission is to help women monetize their gifts so they can create impact and build wealth. When she's not helping her clients build their online empire, she can be found traveling, spending time with her family, or watching medical dramas on Hulu. So she's so much fun. I hope that you enjoy the interview, and I'm sure that you'll love her as much as I do. All right, Maya, I am so excited to welcome you to the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. This is like a very serendipitous moment. Weren't we talking about that earlier?
Yes, I'm so excited to be here. I'm laughing because I'm like, I'm already borrowing your clothes. So that's how I know we're like,
best friends.
Yeah, we're best friends now.
Well, we met last night. We briefly, and then today we had the opportunity to get to know one another more, get to we went pretty deep, pretty fast.
We did. I was like, I think I need to pay her a life coaching fee or something.
But that happens with good people that It's like all of my best friends, it's happened in that exact way. And I just wanted to get you on the podcast you have so much wisdom, so much grace. You're so young. I didn't realize how young you are, but it's like, so you are a marketing specialist. Tell me about what you do with your clients, messaging really.
Yeah.
And, marketing messaging. You're a lover of spreadsheets.
I'm a lover of spreadsheets. The operations I really love as well. But what I am known for is being a brand strategist, marketing expert, launch strategist, whichever title resonates with my audience. But what I do is, helping people get clear on their message so they know how to articulate their value and attract high-paying clients. I love working with people who are just excellent at what they do and then teaching them how to package their expertise and then sell it as a coaching program or any type of curriculum-based offer.
And that was so interesting for me because in spa, there's so many different niches, right? You can be a lash artist, you can be a medical spa, you can be a day spa. And for a spa owner to really understand who are they trying to market to? Mm-hmm. Who do they want to come into their business? They've got to understand the messaging.
Yeah.
And so, getting to know you more, learning your story, which I want to dive into as well. But that just made what you do so much more interesting as well. So where do you want to, let's start with how you got into this in the first place, and then we'll go into how our spa owners can kind of apply.
Yeah, for sure. So I got into this industry actually by creating MySpace pages when I was in college.
You guys remember MySpace?
The MySpace pages. Oh my gosh. So fun back then. You had your top 8 friends. You could add music depending on what season you were going through. I loved a good breakup song on my MySpace page when I was going through a little breakup. But, so I got into this industry and, I was really helping people build their brand before I even understood what branding was. And, branding is really about like your personality and the perception that people have about you with your business. And so I wanted to look cool online, and people wanted custom MySpace pages so they could look cool or important or professional, whatever look that they wanted to give off. And so that's how I got into that space. And then I eventually transitioned to helping people, design their websites when they wanted their own platforms and wanted to be taken a little bit more seriously. And the gap that I recognized was that my clients were really smart and they had things that they wanted to sell, but they never knew what should be on their website and what it should say outside of the colors that they wanted or outside of the photos that they wanted. And there was a gap in communication of like, here's what I do and here's who I want to attract. And so I really started helping my clients with the messaging, which is essentially, who are you, who do you serve, and how do you serve them? And so that is how I found my gifting and messaging, by helping my clients.
And how do you answer those questions for our spa owners? They're saying, hey, I want to serve this type of individual, whether it's like 35 to 55 or busy moms or people, you kind of go through these like business 101.
Yeah.
Like,
ideal client avatar. Yeah. And it's so generic.
But then to really like, what language or imagery or all of that kind of stuff, how am I actually translating that? And also like a personality behind the brand, that because there's these certain brands that you just feel so connected with, and then others that are just flat.
Yeah. I think why it's so hard for a lot of people to answer this question is because most people are afraid that targeting an audience means that they're limiting their audience.
Yes.
And they're like, I don't want to leave money on the table. I can serve everybody. I just want to be helpful. And what I tell my clients is like, your ideal client is searching specifically. They want to know that, their esthetician understands their unique problem. They want to know that their esthetician understands melanin skin or dry skin or whatever the issue is, right? When people come to me, they want to know that I understand messaging and how to market online. Whatever your it thing is, you need to be really confident putting that out there. And don't feel like you are limiting who you're going to work with. You're actually creating more expansion for attracting the right people who you're going to enjoy working with.
Oh, that's so huge. And I hear that question over and over. It's like, well, I don't want to just target acne because I do acne and anti-aging. And it is so essential to get the people in for your specialty and then expand from there.
100%. I say like, what is it that you want to be known for? Like choose one thing and then you can expand, right? Like you don't want to create a lot of confusion. And when you can choose that one thing, it's easier to become the best in your industry when the industry is like more niche, right? So like an example I give to my clients is like, it's going to be challenging to be the best photographer in your city, but it's going to be easier to be the best newborn photographer who uses natural light. And so the more niche that you are, the easier it is going to be for you to become known in your industry. And then you can start expanding from there because you've now already built that trust.
So good. All right, so let's pivot a little bit. And I want to get your thoughts on building a personal brand as a spa owner. So does the spa owner put their face out there? Do they, have stock photos? Is it like, a lot of solo estheticians will start out and it'll be like Skin by Daniela.
Yeah.
And then they hire a team and they're like, shoot, I should not have named my company Skin by Daniela. I'm trying to get everybody to go to my team. They won't go anywhere else. You know, they're not going to any other providers. But at the same time, we hear in business so much about you are the brand. You've got to be the brand as the entrepreneur. So what's your perspective on that for brick and mortar?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's pros and cons, right? I think that building a personal brand is one of the fastest ways to just build trust, because at the end of the day, people want to feel like they're doing business with a person. I think, the con is when people do feel like, when you're 3, 5, 10 years in, that they're still going to be directly doing business with you. But if you are in the beginning stages and you're like, I want things to grow quickly, I say, put yourself out there, tell your brand story. And then as you learn to tell your brand story and build the personality for your brand, you want to make sure your company values are now instilled in your team. So people are less reliant on working with you one-on-one, and they want to work with the personality of your company, knowing that regardless of, which esthetician that they work with within your company, they're going to get the same level of care and quality.
So good. All right. So let's move into mindset a little bit.
Okay.
Because you are so good at this.
Thank you.
Talk to me about some of how important, I want to look at like your growth in your business, starting your MySpace pages. I know that you left college. That was a big experience in your family and all of that. You had to go through some, worthiness issues and all of that kind of stuff. How important is having a positive mindset in the success of your business, in the growth of your business, in all of it?
Yeah. I mean, it's huge. I would say mindset is probably like 80% of it. And I think it's something that it's so easy to be dismissed because we think we need the next webinar strategy. We need the next Instagram strategy, the next email marketing strategy. And all of those things are great. But what I've recognized with teaching clients is like, you're not going to implement any of those strategies if you don't first have the mindset of success and you don't already believe in yourself. You're going to eventually self-sabotage because you're going to think, I can't make $100,000 or I can't make $1 million or whatever your goals are. So mindset is so important because you are going to have challenging times in your business. And you have to make this decision, like, when I'm going through challenging times, am I willing to go through it or am I going to give up on it? And, also in 2023, industries are so saturated. And I think it could be a good and bad thing. I think saturated industries are an indication that your industry is profitable, right? It's saturated because it's working. The downside of saturated industries is that we tend to look at this saturation as I can't fit in or I can't stand out. And we play this comparison game with ourselves. And when you establish this mindset of no matter how many other spa businesses there are, I'm different, my story is different, I am unique, then you give yourself the opportunity to succeed. But when you don't see yourself as valuable or unique, you're going to think there's no way that I could fit in.
You mentioned before, earlier in the day, not on this episode, you were talking about the beliefs that so many women put on themselves. Like, I'm a woman, I'm a minority, I don't come from money, I don't, insert whatever thing that blocks you.
Yeah.
And you said, tell me what you said.
Yeah.
You said, pretend that you are all of the other, pretend you are a skinny white male with everything in front of your world.
Yeah.
You can do anything possible.
Right.
I mean, for me, that's mindset. It was hilarious. Yeah. But it's like, if you had everything working your way, what would you go for? Yeah. And instead of looking at what do I have going against me that we believe is against me. Right. Yeah. It's actually your uniqueness.
Your superpower. Yeah.
Right. Talk to me more about that perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. So to give context, so people are wondering, why should I envision myself as a thin white male? So we were talking about, my upbringing, what I see with my audience, my community, who's primarily Black women, and how, oftentimes we could say it's hard for me to succeed because I'm Black, or it's hard for me to succeed because I'm a woman. And I do believe that we all have, we all deal with different levels of discrimination, right? Whether it's, you're not able-bodied or whatever it is. And so I'm like, okay, just imagine everything was going well for you. Like, if you think you're not winning because you're not white, pretend you're white. If you think you're not winning because you're a woman, pretend you're a man. If you think you're not winning because you're not beautiful or thin, pretend that you're beautiful and thin. Let's just imagine that you have all of the qualities of what we think will make you successful, right? And, there might be advantages, whatever, but let's just pretend that's what's going to make you successful. What would that look like for you? How much money would you be making? What would your company look like? How would you ask for money? How would you show up into the world? I want you to pretend that you get to have all of that. And then I want you to find the example of somebody who looks exactly, how you are. If they're a woman, if they have brown skin, if they're plus size, whatever it is, find the example of that's winning, because they are out there. And I want you to know these things are possible for you. Even if your challenges look different, just because you have challenges doesn't mean that it's not possible for you.
And it's so much mindset. And you never realize that maybe by you putting yourself out there, you are actually setting the example for other individuals.
Yeah.
And I think that that's so important. I was sharing with you, we do serve a lot of Black women in our community, and more than one has come to me and said, I'm not comfortable putting my face on the face of the business because I'm worried that will send the signal that I'm only serving the Black community, or that or that someone won't want to come to me for what, XYZ reason.
Yeah.
And, I don't have the capacity to understand what that feels like. Mm-hmm. But from my perspective, it's like, you're so beautiful. Why wouldn't you put yourself out there? Why wouldn't you showcase and then create more of a reality for other women to follow?
Right. Yeah. I think the question that they would need to ask themselves is why, what is your fear of looking like you only serve Black women, right? Like, are you afraid that you won't make as much money? Do you think it's more beneficial if you do serve more than just Black women? I think that's the first question to ask, because I do know, like, in the Black community, sometimes, we can have a negative stigma of our own selves. Like, if I only serve Black people, they're not gonna, spend money, right? And then there's some people who are like, I do want to serve Black people because I want to serve people that look like me, and I want to make sure they have a safe space and all of that. So I think it's first, be very clear and honest about why you do or don't want to just only serve, one race and serve your community. And then the second thing is figure out why you want to, serve different races and how you want to communicate that without being so general, right? Because if we go into the messaging of like serving all skin types, that's fine, but then you still need to have some type of niche. Maybe it's like serving all skin types of older women, or, serving all races of acne. You still need to be able to have that niche and then showcase, different examples of who you work with.
And there are specialties. I mean, you learn a separate skill set of how to treat women of color.
Yeah.
Asian skin, keloid scars.
Yep.
There's different things that and doing light and laser treatments on women of color. It's a completely different skill set. So it's not wrong to say we serve skin of color, or that can be your niche.
Yep.
But it's important. I love that, to understand, like, what is my niche? What is the purpose of this business?
Yeah.
And whatever color your skin, if you're the owner, go out there and own that mission.
Yeah.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense. I think it's really like, do you want to serve a special type of skin or whatever, or do you want to serve a special type of community? And I think that's really what it comes down to. Maybe it's like, your spa does laser and weight loss and Botox, and you do all the things, but it's all the things for one group of women. Or you serve all types of women, but you're serving one specific thing for them. And I think that clarity is going to help you be just more clear and upfront with your messaging.
Okay. Any tips or tricks on how to find that clarity when you're going through. It's like, okay, we meditate, we journal, but it's like, I want to do everything. So many estheticians, especially when they get out of school, they're like, I love lashes, I love lasers, I love all of it.
Yeah.
But to really narrow it down to figure out, well, where's the profit? Where's the pleasure? Like, what brings me pleasure?
Yes.
What brings me profit?
Yeah.
What do my clients want from me?
Oh my gosh. I say those exact same things.
Do you?
I'm like, yes. I'm like, whenever you're thinking about what you want, like, what brings joy, what brings money, and what brings impact? Like, all three of those things have to be working in harmony, or else you're going to just be annoyed with it after a few months or a year. And I always say, go back to your story. When I'm teaching, it's your brand story, but it's ultimately like figuring out your story. What is your connection with skincare or whatever industry you're in, right? Like, why do you want to do this? And likely what you'll see is that with your business, you want to help a group of people who were once where you were, or you want to help a group of people that you might have seen struggling with something and your heart was, driven towards them, right? So for me, like, I want to help people who struggled with their messaging because I was working with those group of people and I saw the gap. You might want to, help women with anti-aging because your mom, felt insecure in her 50s and you saw it ruin her marriage, right? It could be something as deep as that. So you want to go back to your story and think about, why does this really matter to me? And then just make the commitment, like, I'm going to go all in on this. I don't need to be overly concerning myself about helping everybody with everything.
The brand that does everything is the brand that does nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see so many estheticians that have acne themselves get into the field because of what a traumatic experience that is, of not wanting people to sit on the side of you or always wearing your hair in your face, and just really affecting an individual's confidence.
Yeah.
And so they get into the world of aesthetics because they're wanting to help other people not go through that pain or that trauma.
Yep.
And so there is a lot of kind of purpose-driven estheticians from that aspect.
Yep.
But I also see individuals who are like, I just want to make the most amount of money possible, because the average esthetician, if you look at the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, is making about $32,000 a year, which is very, very low. Yeah. But we see all these, 7, even 8-figure spa owners that are doing incredibly well. So it's, for me, I'm always asking myself, what is the difference between this? How can the average esthetician make $32,000 a year, and I know individuals that are making multi-6 figures a year of take home, right?
Yeah.
And I think it does come down to knowing your niche, knowing your messaging, and being able to communicate that and finding the proper balance. This is something we were talking about too that I think is really important. Most people tend to be operations or marketing, right? So it's like internal or external. Yeah. And we both are internal, right? Mm-hmm. We would spend all day in our spreadsheets. We would spend all day in Monday.com or whatever, whatever project management software. And that's fine for us. But as an entrepreneur, I'm learning, okay, we've got to have this balance between the internal and the external. Mm-hmm. And even though it feels like there's 7 million things that needed to get done yesterday, it's how do you have that focus of, here's what I'm doing internal, here's what I'm doing external. And to tie it back to that specific messaging, your social media, your website, your events that you're hosting, all of these things become so much easier, even who you're targeting in ads, if you know who your audience is and who you're serving. Yeah. You cut out like 75% of the work.
Yes, exactly. 100%. And it's funny because I was thinking like, as you were talking about how important messaging is and, what's the gap between the people that are making $30,000 a year versus $30,000 a month. I'm like, some of that is part of it is sales, and some of it is like operations and systems. Like, do you know what you're doing? Do you know what you're selling? Do you know what your margins are? All of those things, and really finding that balance. I do always say start with messaging. It does just clarify a lot of things. It saves you time. It saves you money. You're not guessing what to be doing with your ads. The messaging needs to be the same across the board. And definitely, if you know you do have a purpose-driven brand and starting with your brand story, your messaging is going to be so much more relatable because you're really talking to people and understanding their experiences, right? Mm-hmm. Like how you talked about like, oh, I started this because I had acne, so I would try to cover it with my hair, or I would try all these makeup products. That's your messaging right there. Somebody's going to see that and feel like, this person understands me. And at the end of the day, your best customers and clients, they want to spend money with the person or the company that best understands their deepest insecurities, their pain points, and also their deepest desires.
We all want to be seen, heard, valued.
Yes, 100%.
Right? And to be seen, you can be seen or feel seen by someone who hasn't had acne or hasn't had a shared experience. There's ways to do that, but there's an instant connection when there's some sort of shared experience, right? So you immediately feel like, we have a mutual friend. Yeah. So it was immediate having a mutual friend. Oh, okay, well, we're friends. Yep. And it was just a lot easier. Yep. You can do that with your clients. Yeah. As well. So when there's some kind of commonality in an experience that you can, I had acne. I actually understand. Yeah. The emotions I understand the pain of the cyst. I understand just like not wanting the depression sometimes that goes along with just feeling like you don't want anyone to see your face. You know, there's so much emotional work often that goes in with an acne client besides just the let's do extractions, let's put you on these products, let's do.
Right. Yeah. And I love that you spoke to that because I think oftentimes with, people who are experts when they're writing their messaging, they focus a lot on the process. They focused on, I prime your skin, I do the extractions, whatever it is. This is not my industry, but there's all a process to just making people's skin glow. And because they nerd out on it, they talk about the process. And I'm like, you need to talk about the pain and the desires. If you can just master speaking to those things, people will trust that you do have a process because you understand them. So if you talk about the pain of, feeling embarrassed because, you go to the beach and you always feel like you have to wear makeup on vacation, or the desire of, I wish that, I could feel comfortable enough around my partner without feeling like I have to wake up before him to put makeup on so he doesn't see me.
These are so good. I hope you guys are writing these down. It's free advice.
Yeah. Those words and, the vision of that is going to draw people in more than come lay on my table. Let me extract this thing from your face.
Or I have, 15 years of experience, or this ingredient is the magic ingredient. You're so right. Yeah. And it's the that it's like invest in yourself so that you can go to the beach without worrying about it. What is the actual benefit of this? That is so, so important.
Yeah, it's so important. So it's my thing is nail that. Once you nail that, and then when we want to start talking about the money, if you're why am I only making $30,000? It really just comes down to math, which you guys can all learn in, her program, but it's going to be how many people do I need to serve at this price point? How can I increase, the average order value of the person, that's coming into my spa, and all of those things.
Okay, so I don't know if this is your area or not, but I think that you'll have something to say about it. For women that are feeling like, oh, great, Maya's awesome, but she just now gave me one more thing that I need to do. How are you sharing with your clients, with your community, how to prioritize these different aspects of operating a business?
Oh, that's such a good question. Yeah, I think the priority is going to show up differently for everybody. You have to take a look at, what is the most important thing? Are you profitable? Are you getting clients? The most important thing when you're starting out is making money. Like,
right. I mean, if you're not making money, you just have an expensive hobby.
Exactly. It's like, what are you doing around sitting on Canva making pretty graphics? Like, tell people about what you do.
Get
like,
in front of people.
Exactly.
Yes.
Like, run your mouth. I just did a post the other day where I was just talking about, like, I'm willing to risk looking silly, so I'm further ahead next year than looking silly for being in the same place. And I think what holds a lot of people back is they're not willing to risk looking silly to say, hey, do you have any friends that, need an esthetician, or I just started my spa business. I would love for you to come in and check it out. You got to promote yourself. Many people, what they need to just focus on is promoting themselves and making money consistently. And then if you're promoting yourself consistently and you're like, okay, I'm not hitting the revenue that I want, then that's an opportunity to start looking at your messaging, because you're like, I know I'm using my voice, but is my voice packaged in a way that I'm attracting the right people? Then when you're like, I'm getting the right people, I'm making money consistently, but I need to make more, then it's like, okay, do I run ads, or how do I become more profitable? How do I reach more people? So there's definitely different stages, but it just depends on where you are in your business.
Yeah, that's so good. But it is always a juggling act. I think no matter what level you get to, there's always something that's going on. I mean, I have a spa that I've worked with that's in the 8 figures, and I know that this individual still struggles with time management.
Oh, yeah.
And like, there's still a pile of things that are not done that need to get done. And I know that's probably not what you want to hear right now, but that is part of what you signed up for as an entrepreneur, is how do we time manage? How do we problem solve? How do we focus on the most important thing that needs our attention right now in business?
Yeah. I always say that, businesses are living, breathing organisms, and there's different.
Well, that's why they say your business baby, right?
Yeah, exactly. And as long as your business is alive, you're going to have to tend to it. And I think what we want is, I figured out my messaging, it's done. I figured out my sales system, it's done. I figured out my operations and hiring, it's done. And it's never done. You're always going to be growing. You're always going to be tweaking your messaging, but just look at it as a fun adventure. Like, I think we look at it as like a burden, or I'm not doing something right. But it's like, how you treat your child at 2 years old looks different at 7, looks different at 14, looks different at 19. So you're always going to be tending to your business, and the needs are going to be different based on the stage that it's in.
Yeah, that's so true. I always, without fail, will have someone come into Growth Factor and they'll say, all right, this quarter, because we always say, all right, what's the focus this quarter?
Yeah.
I'm going to get all my systems in place.
Yeah.
I'm like, really?
Yeah.
That's a great goal.
Right.
I do attract
so nice.
a lot of type A's, which I'm sure you do too.
Yeah.
But it's like the systems are never done. It is ongoing, never done. It's how can I, all right, I'm going to review these ones or do that. So I guess really the answer that I'm kind of feeling is that learning how to be okay with always having a few open loops.
Yeah.
And that's personal development.
It is. I mean, it's challenging for me as well. Like, once I do something where I'm like, this is perfect how it is, it's like next week, it's like, well, we have to tweak because we grew this way, or we got feedback from, our clients this way. And it can be frustrating, but it's just the game. It's the game.
Oh, okay. Anything else that you feel like is important that you want to add to make this episode complete?
What would you say is like the most challenging thing with your students, or, people that listen to the podcast? Like, what do you think the it thing is that people are searching for?
Right now, there's a lot of concern with the economy. So it's the sales. So we have a lot of individuals who, they're working moms. A lot of times the beauty industry is looked at as a less than career. So you got to go to college, right? You've got to do X, Y, Z. And these women will, have a career path that they never wanted to do, but they did it because it's what they were supposed to do. They leave, they get into aesthetics. They're finally thrilled and happy with what they're doing. but they feel like they're starting too late or they're starting whatever. And us as an industry going through, 3 years of COVID, every spa in the country was shut down. In Canada, they were shut down for even longer. In Canada, they were shut down for over a year.
Wow.
Yeah. And so having that energy of like white knuckling it and like, what are we going to do? How are we going to pivot? They're still feeling the trauma of that. And so there was definitely a surge of, all right, people are back. The world is getting more back to normal. But now with the talk of inflation and potential recession, it's almost like they feel like they're getting kicked when they're down. And it's different in different parts of the country.
Yeah.
But I think that they're craving consistency in revenue, being able to pay themselves and feel comfortable paying themselves.
Yeah.
Which for me goes back to like, how do we have a clear, secure sales system that's in place, which is directly aligned with messaging?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking about. Like, the first thing I would say is don't adopt any of this fear that you're seeing on the news of, inflation and recession, all of that. Yeah, I mean, stuff is expensive, but at the end of the day, there's people that still want to go in spas because they care about how they look. Think about those people. Think about the people who are like, I don't care how much eggs are. I'm still, going to go get my Botox. I don't care, how much stuff is out there. I'm still going to go get my laser or whatever it is that you're serving.
People do. And, our industry historically fares better than so many other industries because people need that nourishment, that well-being, that self-care to help regulate their nervous system. And maybe they're not going to travel. But I think that people they get worried. And so when there's this uncertainty of, are we in recession or not? Or what's going to happen? Everybody just kind of freezes. And so there are certain spas that are feeling that.
Yeah.
And there are certain spas that are like, this has been the best month ever, but I'm scared because I don't know what's going to happen. I'm like, well, look at your data, look at your numbers. If you're having your best month ever, if you're, have your business savings, you've done everything all right.
Yeah.
Like, don't let that fear infiltrate you.
Yeah.
But it is important because I feel that women, we tend to be in this industry nurturers, caregivers. We love on our people. We have a very intimate relationship with our clients because they come to us and share their biggest vulnerabilities, right? Or we're, like if you are a Brazilian wax specialist, it's like someone's coming to you undressing, you're cleaning intimate areas, and it's like in weird positions, right? And so it's like you have a relationship with your esthetician
exactly,
that you don't have with a ton of people. And so we tend to be very protective of that relationship. And so oftentimes I think one of the hiccups is that they don't want to feel, it's like you don't want your mom to come over and then feel like, oh, mom, I'm going to sell you this or sell you that.
Got you.
So there's that energy there when it actually should be, how can I serve you at my highest level with my knowledge of this is what's going to help you reach your goals. This is what's going to help you be more confident in what you're in yourself.
Yeah. I love that. I love that perspective of like the intimacy that you have, with your customers and clients when they're coming into you. I think there's a couple ways to look at it. Like, one, I think you have to be able to answer the question, like, why is it still important that they come in even during a recession, right? And you have to believe that it's important, or else your lack of enthusiasm is going to show within your marketing. It's going to show within your messaging. And if you don't believe that it's important right now, maybe if you're like, okay, maybe you don't need to be paying for a wax right now, but let me show you how to groom yourself at home or whatever. Maybe that's just pivoting into like, okay, we're going to sell an ebook on how to wax yourself and we'll sell you the wax product or something like that. So you can either position, come into, our spa and we'll do this for you. It's still really important that you still come in for here, or, let me give you a credit. So when the recession is over, like, you just got to figure out how to pivot.
Having
and just
different
find value.
offerings. I think that, we don't want to advise patients to wax at home.
Right. I mean, don't take that advice. This probably works if like, you're teaching marketing or something. That's just a poor example, but yes, figure out how to pivot.
But pivoting in like, even shorter offerings or mini facials or, things like that we can serve, because the reality is that there are people that are going to lose their jobs. There are people that are going to have, a change in their financial situation, whether we're in recession or not. I mean, that happens in life. But in a period where individuals may feel more stress or more worry about, or more uncertainty, it's great to have a variety of different offerings at different price points where we're still looking at our margins. Maybe it's a 30-minute treatment instead of a 60-minute treatment, right? Something like that they can just get a little dose of love.
I love that. That's probably a better suggestion than self-wax. But
I mean, there are things you can do at home, but just do not do your own
maybe
Brazilian.
Like, here's how you do your own facial at home using our products. Maybe that's a better example. But yeah, I mean, I love the idea of like, okay, somebody can't maybe do a full 60-minute facial, like come in for a 30-minute. We still want to make sure that we're serving you, we're adjusting our offerings to make sure that you still feel served during this season.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So share with everyone where they can find you, follow you, stay in touch. I know you've got a great following on Instagram, and even though you work with coaches and all of that, you still have so much advice and insight that you can share with the world. Yes. Where can they find you?
Yes. So you guys can follow me at Maya Elious on Instagram. That's MayaElious. I was joking with Nita. I was saying a lot of people think it's Mayalicious.
Yes.
But it's Maya Elious. For those of you who have spas in Atlanta and you want to, do a little Botox or something on your girl's face, send me a DM. This is me promoting myself and promoting you for me. But yeah, follow me on Instagram, reply to my stories. Let's connect there.
Very good. Thank you so, so much. And for those of you that want to keep this conversation going, be sure to head over to our Facebook group, Spa Marketing Made Easy, and we'll catch you on the next episode.